Have you ever pondered the legal entity of Minister Mervyn and its implications in court proceedings? In the world of law, Minister Mervyn is not just a name. It represents a legal fiction, a concept that plays a crucial role in our legal system. Let's start by understanding the inception of this entity. The legal entity of Minister Mervyn was established under administrative law. It's not just a name on a piece of paper, but a personified entity with rights and obligations, just like a living, breathing individual. This entity can enter into contracts, be sued, and even be charged with a crime. But here's where things get interesting. A legal entity is essentially a vessel, a construct, created and maintained by the law. It exists only in the eyes of the law and carries the name of Minister Mervyn, separate from the man himself. This entity, or legal person, as it's often referred to, is a vital component of our legal system, enabling corporations, governments, and even entire countries to function within the framework of the law. Now let's delve into the role of this legal fiction in court proceedings. When Minister Mervyn is summoned to court, it is not the man but the legal entity that is being called upon. It's the legal entity that stands trial, that is judged, and if found guilty, is penalized. This legal entity is governed by the rules of administrative law, separate from the natural rights and freedoms of the man associated with it. The use of such legal fiction isn't exclusive to Minister Mervyn. In fact, we all have a legal entity attached to our names. It's this entity that pays taxes, signs contracts, and even gets parking tickets. But what happens when this legal fiction is challenged in court? That's a different ballgame altogether. Challenging the legal entity requires a deep understanding of the law, the courage to question the status quo, and a dedication to asserting one's sovereignty. As you can see, the legal entity of Minister Mervyn is an intriguing and complex concept. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this fascinating subject in the next segment. Do you know the role of consent and the General Civil Restraining Order in the legal arena? Let's dive in. In the labyrinth of legal processes, two elements play a crucial role in shaping the course of justice: consent and the General Civil Restraining Order. These tools help individuals navigate the complex legal landscape and assert their rights effectively. Let's start with consent. In the world of law, consent isn't just a nod or a signature. It's a powerful tool that can either strengthen or weaken a case, depending on how it's used. When given, it can provide a legal authority with a solid footing to proceed with their actions. But when withheld, it can bring proceedings to a halt, challenging the standing of administrative courts and police officers. It's like a game of chess, where a well-thought-out move can change the dynamics of the game. Now let's talk about the General Civil Restraining Order. This is a court order that can be used to protect a person from harassment, stalking, or threats by another person. It's a shield that can prevent a person from becoming a victim of unwanted actions. But did you know that it's also an effective tool to rebut claims? That's right. By establishing a General Civil Restraining Order, one can challenge the legitimacy of certain actions and claims, turning the tables on the opposing party. Both consent and the General Civil Restraining Order, therefore, are not just passive elements in the legal process. They are active tools that can be used to challenge the legal authority and standing of the administrative courts and police officers. They empower individuals to take control of their legal situations, to question the status quo, and to demand justice. So the next time you find yourself entangled in a legal dispute, remember the power of consent and the General Civil Restraining Order. Use them wisely to assert your rights and challenge any unjust claims. Indeed, the assignment of consent and the General Civil Restraining Order are powerful tools in the legal world. Have you ever questioned the use of COVID in legal proceedings? It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? Now let's delve into this complex issue. The COVID-19 pandemic has undeniably had a monumental impact on every aspect of our lives, including court proceedings. But have you ever asked yourself, who carries the burden of proof to establish the existence of the coronavirus in a court of law? It's a challenging question and one that's contested in legal circles. In the heat of a courtroom battle, it's not uncommon for the existence of COVID-19 to become a subject of contention. Some may argue that the burden of proof lies on the party making the claim. In this case, it would be the responsibility of those using COVID as a factor in their claim to provide evidence of its existence. On the flip side, others may contend that the burden of proof should not rest solely on the claimant, but should be a shared responsibility, given the global recognition and impact of the pandemic. It's a tricky balance, and one that can tilt the scales of justice in unexpected ways. Now consider this. When engaging with police officers and court officials, it's possible and sometimes necessary to question the use of COVID in legal proceedings. Why, you ask? Well, it's about ensuring that COVID isn't used as an excuse or a scapegoat in situations where it may not be relevant or justified. Challenging the use of COVID in legal proceedings isn't about denying its existence or impact. Rather, it's about ensuring that justice is served and that the pandemic isn't used as a smokescreen to obscure the real issues at hand. In conclusion, the use of COVID in legal proceedings is a complex and nuanced issue. It's not black and white, and it requires careful consideration and scrutiny to ensure that it's not misused or exploited. Clearly, the use of COVID in claims is not as straightforward as it seems. Do you understand the importance of asserting your authority in a court setting? This is a question that every individual must ponder as they navigate the labyrinth of legal proceedings. It's not just about knowing the law, it's about understanding the power dynamics at play and knowing how to leverage them to your advantage. Consider this. You walk into a courtroom not as a hapless participant, but as the short party creditor of the court. This is a powerful position, one that places you at the center of the proceedings. You're not a bystander, you're an active participant, a key player in the unfolding legal narrative. You're not just there to defend yourself, you're there to challenge, to question, to interrogate the very foundation of the proceedings. This is where the Socratic technique comes into play. Named after the famed philosopher Socrates, this method involves asking strategic questions to expose contradictions and inconsistencies. It's a tool that can be used to challenge authority and bring the truth to light. Let's take a hypothetical scenario. You're presented with a claim based on the existence of the coronavirus. Instead of accepting it at face value, you challenge it. You ask them to provide proof, evidence that supports their claim. This is not defiance. It's an exercise of your right to question, to seek clarity, to demand transparency. The same approach can be applied to other aspects of the court proceedings. You can challenge the legal standing of the administrative courts, the authority of the police officers, even the validity of the civil and commercial codes. But remember, this is not about causing chaos or disruption. It's about ensuring that the proceedings are fair, just, and rooted in truth. And what about the legal fiction of Minister Mervyn? You can assert your sovereignty, challenge the administrative jurisdiction, and surrender the legal fiction. You're not just a passive observer, you're an active participant, a force to be reckoned with. Asserting your authority is a critical step in navigating court proceedings. It empowers you, strengthens your position, and ensures that your voice is heard. So the next time you walk into a courtroom, remember, you're not just there to observe, you're there to participate, to question, to challenge, and to assert your authority. Do you know the implications of being in contempt of court? Let's delve into this, shall we? When you're held in contempt of court, it's like throwing a wrench into the gears of justice. It disrupts the smooth operation of the legal process, undermining the validity and value of court orders. You see, court orders are not mere suggestions or advisory notes. They carry the weight of the law and are enforceable by the judicial system. So, when someone disrespects or disregards these orders, it sends a message that the authority of the court can be questioned and its orders can be ignored. This non-compliance doesn't just affect the individual case at hand, but it also poses a threat to the entire justice system. It sets a dangerous precedent, challenging the legitimacy of upholding subsequent court orders. This could lead to a slippery slope, where individuals feel emboldened to defy court orders, causing a ripple effect that undermines the rule of law. Contempt of court isn't just about the defiance of a single order. It's about the erosion of respect for our legal institutions. It's about devaluing the principles of justice and fairness that our society is built upon. And these are not light matters. They strike at the heart of our shared values and the societal contract that binds us together. So, what happens when you're held in contempt of court? Well, the consequences can be severe, including fines, imprisonment, or both. It can also lead to additional legal complications, such as the loss of certain rights or privileges. Moreover, being held in contempt can seriously tarnish one's reputation, making it harder to gain trust in personal and professional relationships. In short, the consequences of contempt of court reach far beyond the courtroom. They affect not just the individual held in contempt, but also the wider community and the integrity of the justice system as a whole. So next time you find yourself in a situation where a court order is involved, remember its importance, respect it, follow it, because, remember, contempt of court orders can have far-reaching consequences.